Welcome to this Dominion 6 tutorial series. My name is DasTactic. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the series. Hope you've been enjoying it. We're going to be talking about sacreds and blesses in this particular episode. Sacreds, what are they? I wish there was a way that it actually highlighted the sacred units, but you just basically click on a unit. If it doesn't have like a little menorah or what are they called? Those these little things in through here, these candlesticks. If it doesn't have candlesticks, it's not sacred. So this basically shows that it's sacred. And so sacred troops are extremely devoted to the god's cause. They can be blessed and only require half the usual cost to maintain. So their maintenance cost goes way, way down, which is great. So they're actually fairly cheap, but there are other benefits. Now, I've already gone through, how to sort of start to evaluate a faction. I'm going to be doing this in more detail as well when I actually sort of do a let's play. But essentially, there's only one in Jotunheim in the Middle Age. There's only one sacred in amongst the normal units. A lot of the other units, though, are sacred. That one's not. This one is sacred. You can see it through there. This one's showing that it's a level 2 priest, but also sacred. As we come back further, not sacred. But a fair few of the other ones actually are. That one's not sacred either. I think some of these are. Yeah, that's a sacred unit. Sacred unit. Sacred unit. So our basic commanders are all sacred. What about a scout? No, scout is not. So there's only one unit. And this is really probably the limiting factor as such. So let's talk about sacreds. We'll just go into and do a bit of a deep dive into how they sort of work. I'm just going to click on OK in through here. So I've only got the one that we have to really worry about. And we'll use this as an example. By the way, Jotunheim is a great faction for a new player. Right, well, let's come in, and I've already done sort of like a video on magic paths and gems and so on and so forth. Now, I've already got a build in mind, so let's just go across and select a frost dragon. For this one, we get a bit of a bonus with having a frost dragon. I'm going to ramp this one up to 10. Okay, and we're sort of now, our design points are now in the negative. So let's go back into dormant, just so that we go to sleep for a year. So we'll be sleeping for a year. Now, the other thing we need to do to get what I want for the bless effect, if I click on the bless effects in through here, I've only chosen water. So I'm only seeing the water blesses. But the one I really want is this quickness down through this other side. So blessed units are quickened. Quickened units move and attack twice as fast and get +2 to their attack and defense skills. It really is quite a good buff. The frost mist weapons I can actually take straight away if I wanted this one here. So attacks from blessed units will project a cloud of cold intense enough to harm those in the area. So area 1, cold cloud of 3. That would be okay for this faction, to be honest, but you'll sort of see it in the battlefield, I guess, but I really wanted to show quickness because it stands out. When you sort of see it, it really does stand out. So quickness is what we're aiming for, which means we have to go for 1 extra magic. We have to be 1 point in magic. I can now go to my bless effects and quickness now becomes available. Go and click on that one. We have 0 points left. That's why I had to go to 10 and not just 9. So we've got 0 bless points left. So the way it works is that as you get more magical points, you end up getting bless points as well. So for example, if I chose one of these, I get nothing. If I chose a second one, I get 1 extra bless point. As an example, using Earth. So I could then go back in and then start to choose something from in here. But of course, we don't really want to be doing that. Now, we've got 32 points left over. I'm going to make this one fairly simple. The only point I can really sort of add to, I can either go back in and make it even colder in my location by right-clicking into the coldness and make that maximum of 3, which gives me 72, which allows me then to come back in and what would I like? I probably want to sort of make it more go into order, I think. It gives me 32, and I can then just go and grab a couple of dominions. Now, dominion points are important. The dominion, or the holiness basically, or the dominion factor of your nation and of where you actually are, is a limit on the number of holy troops that you can actually recruit that particular turn. So if you've got like a fairly weak blessed unit, and you need to get a lot of them per turn, you're going to have to have a very high dominion. In this case, we're dealing with giants, and so we don't have anywhere near as much. So that essentially is the sort of like the loadout. So that is fine for me. Again, I just wanted to go through with the bless effects, read them, get used to them because there's not that many of them. And if you're wanting to sort of see all of them, just press the B key when you're in this category. That way you get to see all of the potential blesses and figure out, is there anything else in here that would be cool for my units to be using. For example, regeneration would be a pretty cool one as well. Blessed units will recover from damage at an extremely high rate. Regeneration of plus 10%. When you're regenerating something like a giant, which starts off with big numbers anyway, that's going to be quite substantial. If it's only a human, it might be only 1 or 2 points per turn. But for a giant, it can be sort of like 4 or 5. So it does get up there. So regeneration can be a very, very useful one. There's a whole lot of them. Luck is fantastic as well. Like, there's just so many good ones. So to recap, these only come from when you actually choose your pretender god and the way that you then use the magic to then open up these particular bless effects. But the effect of these is anything that is blessable or sacred in the game will then get the benefit of this. Normal units won't, but the blessed units will. Let's go into the game and I'll go into a game where I'm actually like a few turns in, like a fair few turns in, so I can just go through the stages of how blesses actually work. One of the things to note through here is this is incarnate only. So this effect is only applied when the pretender god has awakened and when he is alive. So it has to be awake. Now we're going dormant, which means he's not awake for 1 year. Let's get into the game. Now, I'm sorry about the extra noise, actually. My neighbour's gurneying different equipment, so it's a bit annoying, but hopefully it doesn't come into the microphone too much. Anyway, we're going to be going through with these 2 stacks down and attacking this group of barbarians. And if we have a look at the actual stack itself, if I press T, with that one selected, we'll then sort of see that we actually have like a fairly mundane stack in the middle, like you can see them sort of located back and through here with one of the groups. And then I've got 2 groups of sacred units coming back in. So these are all basically got that sacred ability back in through this other side, and they're going in with our prophet. And so the prophet is a one-off unit that you then sort of elevate early on in the game, essentially, or at any time in the game, to essentially be a level 3 priest, so that you sort of raise them to be level 3 priests. And these are always blessed. So they're blessed all the time, so they don't have to be, if they're on their own, they'll always have the blessing. But the sacred units that are coming in with them are not blessed yet. Now, if we click on bless, I don't know if this will actually show us, but does bless, yeah, the bless effects at this stage are just morale goes up by +1. We'll have a look at this when we come into it in a bit more detail. In fact, one thing we can do while we're in here, if we go across to the list of pretenders, where is it? It's one of these, Pretenders of the World. And as we get to know them, this is actually new to the game, by the way. I haven't seen this before in earlier versions of the of what's going on. We have Frosty, who at this stage is not on the map. This is turn 11, and he's going to come around about turn 12, 13, 14, somewhere in there. If we have a look at the blessings, these are known for Frosty because he's our unit, and we can see through there that the morale +1 is the one that's active. The quickness, because of that incarnate only, is greyed back because he's not on the map. We'll have a look at this when he does come into the actual map. So I'm just going to play this one forward a little bit. Let's just end our turn. You can see if I hover over this where it's got there, it's late winter in the year 0 of the Ascension Wars, turn 11. So we're very, very close to getting Frosty. Let's look at this particular battle. And I'll just sort of show you the bits and pieces that are going to be going on with this battle. So if we just go to the actual battle itself and view what's going on. I'm just going to pause this one straight away. I'm going to turn on a few different things so you can see what's going on here. I'm going to press the R key and then get the combat round in the top corner. I'm going to also just press G so you can see the grids from when they're actually moving, and that'll be enough because the scale of everything is going to be fine. Now we have our commanders at the back. If I go and click on the prophet, we can then sort of see, yep, he is blessed, and the bless effect is he's getting +1 morale. This one as well, and through here, these are still only sacred. If I click on that one, it just tells me that they're sacred and not blessed. That will change to blessed when this one, and I forgot to show you this, but he is going to be casting a particular spell. And so if we sort of have a bit of a look and see what goes on, I'll just unpause the game. Now he's actually, you can see through there, whoops, sorry, I'm pressing the WASD keys. Divine Blessing and Blessing, they're both just casting blessings, but Divine Blessing will bless absolutely everything. And so these guys are now sort of wandering forward, and you can sort of get an idea of the speed of the units. Now if we have a quick look at the what's going through here. Combat speed is 11. Back in this other side, we do have some fast units in through here. Their combat speed is 13, so they're a little bit faster on the map. It means they're going to be a couple of squares, if I press G again, a couple of squares ahead of the game when we actually let go. Now wait for these blessings to take place. They'll happen at the very end of round 0. There we go. They both cast it. It's still round 0. These have now all been cast. And so if we now right click on these ones, we'll now see that they're no longer sacred, they're now blessed. And the only effect they have is that morale +1, because Frosty is not on the map. If Frosty was on the map, that'd all be fine. We'd actually be able to, would have the benefit of that particular attack. Okay, so let's continue on, and we'll just watch the speed values. You can see these guys are a little bit faster than these ones, or it's a little bit slower. They then come in. They hit the side in here. I'll just speed this one up. And they're destroying this. Actually, the barbarians are doing a good job here. But we're now sort of smashing them as well. Okay, that's done. So we'll just quit out of that one. And so that was essentially seeing how they sort of then operate. Let's go forward a turn and sort of start to, Frosty didn't arrive that particular turn, so we'll go and attack this one, and hopefully Frosty arrives while we attack, because this will illustrate another aspect of what's actually going on. So what I'd meant to show you here was that I've given him a specific spell to cast, which is Divine Blessing, and then just cast any old spell after that. But Divine Blessing blesses everyone, which is important. If you don't have a level 3 priest that can cast this, and you've only got the level 1s, you'd be wanting to go and set their orders to cast a specific spell and make that one just blessing, and then do it multiple times. So that's sort of where we are with that. All right, let's end the turn and see what else actually happens. Just watch the battle. And here we go. So the entire nation, now this is important to see this one. So the entire nation rejoices. Frosty, the god of Jotunheim, master of primeval, has actually now come into the game before the battle took place. So this happens before. So technically he is now on the map. Let's have a look at the battle now. And we'll just pause this again and just go through step by step. Pause again. We're still in round 0. These guys here will then still do what they did last time and start to cast their spells. If we go back in and have a look at these guys, these are still just sacred at this point in time. All right, let's continue on until that is cast. Towards the end of the round. There we go. It's now all been cast, so Divine Blessing has now been cast on the troops. If we go and have a look at these ones now, they are now blessed, and when we click on it, we now don't just have the morale of +1. We now have quickness because Frosty is on the map. He's not in the battle, he's on the map. And so this now is, so that with that spell being cast, these have now, you watch what happens to their speed. If we now right click on these, their combat speed is doubled to 22. So they're a lot faster than the group in the middle now. So they're going to race forward very, very quickly. Look at that. This is the quickness in action, and they're going to just cut through because they're attacking twice as fast as well. And these are going to absolutely wind these up. I'm going to smash these as they come through. So as they do the combat, this will be a fairly effective fight, I would assume. So quickness has really made these blessed troops extremely powerful. So I hope that makes sense in terms of what's happening there. But there's one more thing I want to show you. We're now going to take Frosty into a battle as well. So Frosty is now back in through here. So Frosty, I'm going to send in to attack this. This is going to be a hard attack, a hard battle to take on. We have our units back in through here as well. Let's move them in as well. So they're both going to come in at the same time. Frosty's a flying unit, so he can actually get there fairly quickly. If I'm trying to sort of set things up, one little tip you can do is to go and right-click on the target and press the Y key. It's a little bit like coming back and pressing the T key to look at the actual, the setup that you've actually got with the units. But if you come back across here and press the Y key, you get to see everyone coming back in. Like, where do we want Frosty? We can place him in any old place because I'm going to be moving him towards the back of the map. So I'm just going to right click and just move him off to the back here somewhere. Now I want to set him up with particular battle orders. If I don't do anything, because he's got such high level water magic, he'll just sit there and cast spells. I can go and tell him to cast a specific spell. There's things, for example, like Quicken Self is going to do nothing because he's already going to be quick, and I'll show you when we get into the combat what I mean by that. Having the Pretender God in the combat elevates the sacred units in a weird sort of way. Anyway, probably the only thing I've really got through here is something that's going to have like a long range, so that will do. Cold bolt, just to waste a turn, and then we're going to attack the rearmost enemies. So we're just going to go and fly to the back, and then he'll then start to use melee attacks after this first battle in through this other side. So everything else is just set. These guys are also, by the way, oops, I meant to leave that one there. These are set to attack rear, and these are also set to attack rear as well. So they're going to be trying to get around the outside to sort of like past the middle of the map, to then attack the mages and the commanders that are at the back. Okay, let's escape or exit out of that one and end our turn and just sort of see what actually happens in this particular fight. So there's a lot of things going on with different battles. So this one is there's a battle in Hogaria. Let's just watch the battle. Now I'm going to pause straight away. As soon as I pause this time, when we have a bit of a look, now we saw there before that where was it? This is our prophet. The prophet was always blessed when he comes into combat anyway. He now has quickness though. That's one thing that happens. Your Pretender God is also automatically blessed all the time. So he's also now got morale plus the quickness. So he's got that effect. But what's interesting, even without casting that spell, these guys, if we right click on these, start off blessed. So they start off blessed because the Pretender God is in the battle. Everyone that's blessable is blessed by having the presence of the God here, which means we're going to be moving pretty fast. This is a big group. There's a whole group of different mages in amongst the middle here that we're going to need to try to dominate and destroy. So let's just let the game run forward and see what happens. I don't know if we're going to win this or not. There goes the combat bolt. He's then going to fly off. But look at the speed of these guys. They're rushing through. Now they may be able to bypass. Some of them have bypassed. There we go. And so Frosty's now back in the middle here, sort of working on the mages. There's a lot of mages. Get a bit loud. My apologies about that. But he's destroying everything in this other side. Once we kill the mages, the undead will then disappear. Frosty is now gone. He's gone back to the back to finish off other units. Here comes some of the giants. Where's he gone? He's still back there. Yep, and they've now routed. So the independent armies are routed. The undead will stay on the battlefield until the last mage is off. So the mages are now making their way off. So these guys here, for example, these are the spectral mages, which have got like undead. They sort of control the undead. Lots and lots of gems, which we sort of saw in the last episode. So these are fairly strong, incredible morale actually. But it's been enough for them to drop out and start to run away. So our guys did very, very well because of that quickened blessing. It allows them to attack double, which makes them incredibly powerful. And that's it. That is basically a bit of like an explanation or showing you how bless strategies sort of work in a very, very basic form. But really, like, you can mix and match those blesses in all sorts of weird and wonderful ways. I wanted to show quickness because you do see it on the actual battlefield. Anyway, I hope this has been helpful. It sort of just is a bit of a primer, I guess, in one sense, as to how sacreds and blesses actually do work. Always make sure you're evaluating what's going on with your units to sort of see whether blessed strategies are viable or not. As I said way back at the start of the series, if you think you're going to have to rely on blessed strategies, make sure you've played a few games where you don't need to rely on it with other factions first before you start to ease into those or start to sort of delve into those, because it's a little bit more unforgiving if you start to rely on the blessed strategies. Anyway, guys, going to leave it there. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next episode.